RealAgriculture.com's coverage of Farm Progress 2013 is brought to you by Syngenta Canada, bringing plant potential to life.
All right, RealAgriculture.com is here with Todd Botterill of Botterill Sales in Newton, Manitoba. We're talking the Twin Row Monosem Planter. Tell me about this unit.
Well, Twin Row is a somewhat new technology. Monosem was a leader in doing it, and it's kind of an interesting idea. We're starting to see more and more research in doing narrow row crops, narrow row corn especially, and we're finding that the further north we go, the further northern climate, we're getting more of a yield advantage out of a narrower row. But then you get into issues with harvest. There's not many companies building 15-inch corn heads out there yet, so we looked at using a twin row system. So basically what we're doing here now is we have these two units here that are paired. There's an 8-inch spacing between the two rows, and right here is our center line. So we'll still have 30-inch center line with our unit 4 inches either side of that center line. So we can still use a standard 30-inch corn head, which really cuts down on costs of having special harvest equipment. But we get the same seedbed utilization now of a 15-inch. So we're getting the increased seedbed utilization with easier or lower costs in harvesting. One neat feature though that they did is now these 2 meters are timed. With a crop like corn especially, it's very important to have good spacing between the plants. We want to see at least, the rule of thumb is 7 inches of space between the plants, plus or minus about 3 inches. So if you can have a 7-inch space around each plant, then that gives the plant the maximum amount of room to grow. You see less competitions. We don't have issues with the allopathic effect. Corn roots will have a tendency to try to kill each other off. So if we can give those plants that amount of room to grow, then they'll be a lot healthier plant. Well, these 2 meters being timed now, we'll put a seed in this row here and a seed here, seed here, seed here. So they're staggered. That gives us actually more room for each plant to grow than even say you went to a 20-inch spacing. We actually have more room around each individual plant in a 30-inch twin row than we do in a 20-inch spacing. And now we're starting to use this technology as well, not just in corn, but the world records now have been set twice for soybean production with a Monosem Twin Row Planter, and we're starting to use that with canola too. We have some test plots this year. We did some chickpeas, some canola. The populations are fairly high that we're not so worried about the staggering effect, but what we like about a twin row system as opposed to a 15-inch, a lot of guys are very much more used to it. But a twin row system lends itself a little bit better to mid-row banding. And when we look at our other unit here, our 32 row 15, you'll see we're mid-row banding there. Well, we can mid-row band between these two units. Now we're only 4-inch separation from our seed as opposed to 7.5-inch. And there's more room for things like hitches for pull-type carts and that too. So it's a lot easier to mount everything onto a twin row planter than it is a 15-inch. We think we'll get more efficient use of our fertilizer. And also we're finding with that little bit extra spacing, it seems to improve airflow through the crop. A lot of guys with soybeans are mentioning they're not spraying for fungicide near as often when they're doing twin row as opposed to 15-inch because air can get through a little bit better. So we're pretty excited about the plots that we've done with, especially with the canola. It's going to take a lot to wrap a guy's head around the idea of having a large gap, a 22-inch gap, and then an 8-inch gap between rows. But we've actually got some pictures already back from Oklahoma. They were doing some winter canola with twin row. He was getting, the one customer's 2,500 pounds of product per acre. So it's yielding very nicely and having good swath support too. So we're pretty excited about what we're seeing with that.
Great, thanks so much, Todd.
Thank you.